We will be discussing the great services he rendered and the sacrifices he endured for the propagation of Islam and Ahmadiyya.
जब हजूर ने पहला ग्रुप जो यहाँ आने लगा था, यूरोप में तबलीग के लिए हज़रत मुस्लिम मऊद रज़ी अल्लाह ताला अन्हु ने पहले ग्रुप को नामज़द किया था, तो एक दिन हजूर ने हज़रत खलीफतुल मसीह सानी ने इस ग्रुप को बुलाया ताकि उनको इंटरव्यू के लिए बुलाया ताकि उनका नामज़द करें कि किस किस मुल्क में जाना है आप लोगों ने। तो उन्होंने जब लिस्ट देखी तो इसमें इनका नाम नहीं था। कहते हैं मुझे तो इस कदर सदमा हुआ, मैंने कहा कि इस तबलीग का नादर मौका पैदा हो रहा है और मैं इससे महरूम रह जाता हूँ, तो इतना इस कदर कहते हैं दुख हुआ कि मैं बयान नहीं कर सकता। तो उस रात फिर मैंने मस्जिद अक्सा में एक मुअज़्ज़िन हुआ करते थे, मियाँ सिराजुद्दीन साहब उन्होंने नाम लिया था, उनसे चाबियाँ ली मिनारतुल मसीह की कि मुझे ये दें, मैं इस रात नफल पढ़ने का इरादा मेरा, और इरादा था कि मैं दुआ अल्लाह ताला से करूँगा कि अल्लाह ताला मुझे खिदमत दीन की तौफ़ीक अता कर। तो फिर कहते हैं ये रात उन्होंने इस तमाम रात नफल पढ़ने में और दुआओं में गुजारी, रिक्कत भरी दुआओं की तौफ़ीक मिली। उसमें यही था कि अल्लाह ताला तू मुझे खिदमत दीन की तौफ़ीक दे। और इसके बाद कहते हैं मैं सुबह अज़ान भी उन्होंने ही दी और फिर नीचे उतर आए और आके और कहते हैं मेरा बस दिल अभी परेशान था, बिजली मकबरा गया, वहाँ दुआ की, फिर वो अल-फज़ल के दफ्तर में चला गया ताकि वहाँ जाके कुछ पढ़ूँ, अल-फज़ल वगैरह देखूँ, वहाँ भी सुकून ना मिला। तो कहते हैं वहाँ से उठ के मैं निकल रहा था तो सामने से वही ग्रुप जो मुबल्लिगीन का वाक़फ़ीन का वो आ रहा था। कहते थे मैं उनको देख के मैं चाहता था मैं इनसे नज़रों से ओझल हो जाऊँ, छुप जाऊँ, मगर उन्होंने देख लिया और दूर से ही मुबारक मुबारक कहना शुरू कर दिया और कहने लगे हुज़ूर ने आपकी गैर मौजूदगी में आपको स्पेन के लिए नामज़द किया है। वो किसी की गलती की वजह से इनका नाम दर्ज होने से रह गया था, ये वजह बनी थी। तो खैर कहते हैं मेरा दिल अल्लाह ताला की रहमत से भर गया। हज़रत खलीफतुल मसीह सानी की पूरी शफ़क़त, उनकी शफ़क़त का ख्याल करके आँखें भी भीग गईं, जी चाहता था उसी जगह ही सजदा पर गिर जाऊँ, पर शुक्र है कि अल्लाह ताला ने शुक्र है उनकी दुआओं को सुना।
When Hazur asked my father that if I cannot send you money, what would you do? My father said, well, I will do this construction work. Hazur said that you don't have experience in that, so imagine that you build a house with the walls inclined, so nobody will ask for your services. Hazur said, okay. My father said that, okay, then I will wash clothes. Hazur said, if you don't know this job, you will the dress, shirts, whatsoever, you will destroy them, and they will say, please don't come again. Then my father said, okay, I will do whatever I can. Hazur said, look, there are hundreds and thousands of people that die without any purpose. So, if you have to die for the cause of Ahmadiyya, this is the best death. Then this is Hazur accepted his waqf. I will tell some anecdotes at that time, but first of all, let me quote two writings or in the khutbah of Hazrat Khalifatul Masih Sani regarding Spain, Raziyallahu anhu. So Hazur said, Spain is a country that had witnessed the splendor of Islam, but this light is manifested as a result of war, and as a consequence it was extinguished. Hazur said, now this light has been revived again with the message of love and peace, hence it will be perpetual and will never be extinguished. And another quotation from Hazrat Khalifatul Masih Sani Raziyallahu anhu, Hazur said, have we forgotten Spain just because we left it? No, we have never forgotten. We will definitely come back to Spain in the place where swords were drawn. Our tongues will wage a war, and presenting the beautiful teachings of Islam, we will convert our brothers in our spiritual weapons. So just mentioning, you know, the early times, we have to think that Spain at that time passed through a civil war. When General Franco was ruling, other non-Catholic sects, I mean Protestants, evangelist Christian sects, were persecuted. I remember a grandmother from a friend of mine that I studied together. She used to tell me that she belonged to a group which was the Catholic Action Female. So they were instructed by the government at that time that go to those places where there are Protestants whatsoever and disturb them, promote whatever riot you can, because they weren't allowed. So the situation of my father at that time was, I mean, quite critical.
Very harsh conditions in which he had to.
I remember from my mother, I've heard that secret police was coming every 10 days. They was always saying that we have admonished you. You can't preach here because, you know, selling perfumes. This is something very important. What I have quoted that Hazur said that what will happen if we can send money. You know, when in 1947, Hazrat Muslim Maud Anhu said that we don't have money, please come back to London. My father said, no, I have done a promise. I will maintain the mission and my family. So he did this promise until his death. So he started selling perfumes on the street, and as many people know, so the perfumes were prepared by him. It was a small box when he used to sell these perfumes. But at the same time, you know, hiddenly he used to give some booklet, or speak hiddenly about Islam. So the same people that were listening that he is speaking about Islam, they go to the police department, and police used to come. So one day they were with a group of Spanish. There were also converts at that time, and all of them were sent to prison, you know, arrested. Among them was one of the first Spanish Ahmadis. His name was Abdul Latif. He said, I am from the General Franco's party. I have rewards from him. I defend Spain. Spain is my country. I love Spain. All my interest is with Spain, but you cannot force me on the matter of faith. I am Muslim. I believe to be a Muslim. So they relieve all of them except my father, you know. So whenever the officer police came and they said, well, I want to know who are you. I'm new in this area whatsoever. After a while, he was released, and he said, well, this was I wanted to know who was you. My father said, this is the way you introduce people? I mean, you arrest them, you ban them, you put in a car, and you send to prison. So this was the early stages were difficult. Can you imagine, you know, we're born there. It was a country where, apart from Christianity, from Catholicism, was nothing allowed. So everything was censorship. All the public schools were under the church, and you know, there was much stress on always, you know, having the theory of Catholicism. No, also Franco was considered as the let's say the preserver of this Catholic spirit, you know.
He also used to write letters to General Franco, the then head of state, and he usually always wrote him back, but he got a very positive answer for one of his letters, in which he sent this book, The Philosophy of the Teaching of Islam, and he also expressed his gratitude and gave a very positive opinion. My father kept always this letter with him. He had this letter in his pocket, actually. And whenever many times he got in trouble because of his tabligh. So whenever he was arrested or he was questioned by the police, he showed them the letter. So the police had no arguments, and he always let him go. In the early 70s, he started a public periodical publication that was called Bulletin Ahmadiyya. It means Ahmadiyya Bulletin. And I used to help him this task. he bought a manual printing machine. It was a small machine that would work manually, ink and paper. And we started publishing initially hundreds of issues that would gradually increase to a few thousand, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000. And it was basically monthly or maybe every other month. This bulletin was distributed regularly among all levels of society, including government members, politicians, distinguished people, ambassadors, clergymen, professors, just name it. I mean, all levels of society. In this regard, I remember on one occasion, the late Dr. Abdul Salam came to our house, and he brought with him the dean of the University of Madrid. The dean, when he came to our house, we have a small flat at that time and nothing special. He was kind of distant, wondering where he was. Suddenly, after some time, suddenly I heard some laughter and expression of joy. What happened is that my father introduced himself as a head of the Ahmadiyya community. And hearing that, the dean say, I thought the Ahmadiyya community was a very big and luxurious building. And I receive your periodical bulletins, and I'm aware of your beliefs in your community. Then my father opened a small cabinet that was in the living room, and he showed our old printing machine. And he said, this is our office.
Well, I was also there. Regarding the letter of General Franco, and there was another letter of the Archbishop of Sevilla. My father used to have both letters here on his pocket. So he was arrested, banned again, go to prison, and he used to show these letters because textually, you know, that what General Franco said was, he sent the book about Islamic Sulki philosophy. He said, his reading has been very rewarding for me, and I thank you with all my heart. And the bishop said that I agree with you in all those values that separates man from materialism, and you know, this help to go near God. So this was the way that whenever he was in prison, he used to show this letter. So police said, okay, if you know General Franco is saying that he likes this book, why should we arrest him? And I have another anecdote that is, I think, very interesting. Once the head of police said to my father that I have decided I won't arrest you more, because every time there were complaints that this man is preaching Islam, please, he's contravening the law, he's not, I mean, he's doing whatever he wants, so it's forbidden, he can't do that. So whenever he spent some few days, I mean, I have never been a long time, he started preaching among the, you know, the people that were in the prison. So this head of the police said, I won't call you more, because if you come here too much, we'll convince all of us. So whenever there was some call from a director from a school whatsoever, he said, okay, just don't disturb this man. Then in 1965, I don't want to make it much longer, Manuel Fraga was a great politician in Spain, was Minister of Franco. He received my father and he gave the authorization for those books. Then, you know, with the grace of Allah, it was the first time when, you know, were published in thousands, you know, thousands of Islamic Sulki philosophy. They were published, the Islamic structure, the economic structure of Islamic society, what is Ahmadiyya, the promised Messiah has come, what are our thoughts about Jesus Christ, whatsoever. So there was a period in which, you know, somehow some authorization was given, and then I remember my father used to publish, because he knew that there was some, you know, somehow they wouldn't say much, but do it at home, don't disturb us much. This was somehow, you know, a type of relation with the government. You know? He used to tell us that in early 60s, 70s, he used to go to fairs, big fairs in Barcelona. So General Franco opened this fair, and his wife was with him. So my father shook the hand of the general, and then, you know, his wife, Doña Carmen, she also presented her hand to my father. So my father said to General Franco that this is your flower, it's not mine. So this was a very, you know, he used to be very intelligent. I remember he used to have always some bottle of perfume because he never shook hands to women. So whenever a woman just tried to shake hand, he would put some perfume, and then she started no smelling whatsoever. Once the kings of Spain, he wrote a letter to the king of Spain, and he said that I want to meet you, but I will say Assalamu alaikum, I will say Musafa to you. You won't do any Musafa to my wife. I won't make any Musafa to your wife. We will be in the separate rooms. So with the grace of Allah, he accepted all the conditions. They spent there for 40 minutes. He preached them about, you know, Islam, Ahmadiyya. They gave a copy of the Holy Quran. So he never compromised. But not only is there in this, I remember, I think as an anecdote, I think is interesting. He was quite popular. I mean, my father was very popular in Spain. If you see all documentaries, he's always there. So one man from Coca-Cola came, trying to, you know, to make publicity out of his popularity. I remember he stayed at home because my father wasn't there, and when my father came, he said, "It's simple. You just want to take a photo. You're taking a Coca-Cola." He was so angry that I am a missionary. I mean, you want to buy me? What? You can't think a bit more. I have nothing to do with this things, you know. So he was completely solid to the teachings of Islam. And, you know, inshallah, Islam will come through Ahmadiyya to all Europe. And this is, I think, is an event that will, with the time, you know, people will see. And regarding my father, what I really, with thanks to God, is that many people fight for a great achievement, but maybe, you know, the generations see the fruit. But Allah Ta'ala give the reward in his life. This is the main thing I can say regarding my father. I mean, that they was extremely joy, you know, can't imagine that after such a long effort, such a long sacrifice, you see the
opening of the first mosque.
You see the dream, you know, that you have been thinking. And if you imagine the past, you know, how many difficulties were there. So it's really a great favor from Allah. So, Alhamdulillah.
कहाँ वो ज़माना था कि एक शख्स खलीफा वक्त की आवाज़ पर लबैक कहते हुए यहाँ आया, जब हालात मुकम्मल तौर पर मुखालिफ थे। इस्लाम का नाम भी चुप कर लिया जाता था, वजह ये है कि तबलीग की जाए। माली लिहाज से भी जमात की उस मुजाहिद अहमदियत की कोई मदद हासिल नहीं थी। ख़ुद इतर बेच कर अपना घर भी चलाया और मिशन के अखराजात भी पूरे किए और इंतज़ाम भी चलाया। एक शौक़ था, एक जज्बा था, जिसके तहत हमारे पहले मुबल्लिग़ करम इलाही ज़फ़र ने काम किया।
Presenting you the place where my dear father, Maulana Karam Ilahi Zafar sahib, used to sell perfumes in Sunday markets. This was the box in which, you know, he has different flavors, and people used to come and he used to mix flavors and put into small bottles. And for those new generation of Ahmadis is worthy to mention that Allah Ta'ala blessed this small box so much that only with this small box my father was able to publish thousands of books on Ahmadiyya, Islamic Sulki philosophy, and other books and booklets, and spread all around the Spanish geography. And there was so much blessings from Allah Ta'ala in this small box that during many years he maintained the mission according to a promise he did to Hazrat Khalifatul Masih Sani Raziyallahu Anhu. When the partition took place, Hazur called him back, and my father said, no, I will do my job to continue the mission. So this place is for the history of Ahmadiyya in Spain is very peculiar. With the grace of Allah, I have preserved it. It is, in my case, is 40 years now. That 48 years now I'm here, and you know, I have preserved photos and recordings from that time. How, you know, the people of Madrid used to call him the man of the turban, because at that time there were no many people with turban, and he was very famous. No, there were no many people dressing like him. There are people now who are 70 years old. They still remember him, and they say, we were kids, we used to remember your father when he was selling the perfumes. And the way he used to preach, as Khalifa Sirabe explained once, was that after selling the bottle, you know, hiddenly, because it wasn't allowed at that time, he used to give a small booklet about Islam Ahmadiyya. And it's quite famous that he said that this is a temporary perfume. Take this one, that it will continue in this life and the life after death. So for me, it's a very special place. We come every Sunday here. It's a good place to establish contact with about Ahmadiyya, because people reading or seeing the photos, they get interested on the books. We get the contacts whenever someone is interested. We take his email, address, telephone, and inshallah I hope that we will continue with this place in the future. Maybe next generations will continue with that. So Jazakallah for having this interview to me. And I have extreme love for this place. So my father started the work there. As you have seen there are some photos at that time. He was remembered as the man of the turban, So, as I mentioned previously, many generations of Spaniards and people from Madrid remember, this image, because they have this image. And also, as I have mentioned, is a very good place to make contacts among the people, because you know they are somehow shocked that a missionary of Ahmadi Muslim community in 1947. So they come, they see the books, they try to know which are the our objectives. Also, there is a photo of Hazrat Khalifatul Masih. So many Arabs comes there. They see that, they see on MTA. So whenever Allah Ta'ala will give me this opportunity, I will try to maintain it. But have in mind that also, very great, important people from the Jamaat have come there when my father used to sell there. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I appreciate that. These are my roots. These are the place where I have been. My father taught me. What have I learned from him? I've learned from there. The way he used to preach to Christians, all the arguments I have learned from this place. So I mean, it has been my school. It's been a real school for me. You know, he's a man that has been struggling from the beginning. Just you know, within such hard conditions. You know, is hardly to. It's very difficult to understand that when everyone is seeing you, as something strange, and if you don't have this strong conviction is psychologically is a torture. But I remember my father, he was forgiving everyone. He didn't, to insult him, he didn't care. I've seen when I was a kid that used to, the stole, the fanatic Christians to tremble, and some bottles of perfume were broken. Never said anything. So these were really, this qualities that you can forgive the person that you have. Another thing very important is the courage. I mean, my father was a brave man, self-confidence, never, as I have told you before, he was a man of powerful conviction, and this personality helped him a lot during all the achievements. So I would like to mention, if you allow me, an anecdote that is quite interesting. I remember it was 1980, 2 months before this first stone ceremony. A telegram from Hazrat Khalifatul Masih Salas, Rahmullah, came. It was late night. It was, I think, even 12, 11, 1 o'clock in the morning. It was too late, I remember, that your embassy in Pakistan is putting troubles for the visa. I remember my father walked me out. We used to have a very small car, Fiat 600. And at that time, roads were not so good. It took 6 hours to go to Madrid. Calculate the time. He said, let's go to Foreign Affairs Ministry. Big cars, Mercedes, He said, my father said, park there. And I mentioned no complex of any inferiority complex. Old car, we parked there. He entered there, it was very early in the morning. He said, I want to meet the general director of Foreign Affairs. Nobody asked him, who are you? Where are you going? Which is the purpose of your going? Just only said, yes, go. He reached this gentleman and said, what are you doing? Why you are putting impediments that, people want to come to for the first stone. And he said, who is putting you this impediment? I was a telephone immediately to your ambassador in front of me. And then he telephoned, is there any problem? They said, well, don't put any problem to this Ahmadis. Don't put it. Then my father said, yeah, Jazakallah, Assalamu alaikum. And then he said, let's go back because we have plenty of work to do. So
I remember he hardly had any possessions. He had a briefcase in which he would put his leaflets, books, and material for tabligh. He was having a radio in which he would listen to the news. And he was having his suitcase where he was putting his perfumes that he used to sell. And I remember he also had a movie camera that somebody gave him as a gift. Apart from that, I don't remember my father having any sort of thing that he would express that he would like to have any sort of material thing. Many friends, they were ready to give us TV sets, and my father didn't want that because he always wanted to have not only a simple life but good entertainments for the family.
One thing that now I think is being a, let's say, a mature person is that something we used to see as a routine in our daily lives, that we used to help to fill these bottles And you know the small box he used to have. If you logically thinks, you have a logical approach to that, it is impossible that a man could maintain 6 children. He can publish thousands of books of Islamic philosophy, thousands of books of Islamic structure of Islamic society, thousands of books, or 3,000 of bulletins per month. So apart from that, there's not a special favor that Allah Ta'ala was doing on him. There is no other explanation. I remember sometimes we have been helping him in this selling perfumes, that if next Sunday was cloudy and it was raining, previous Sunday Allah Ta'ala used to give him 3-4 times more. So I mean, this is something that, although you have a special link with God, full confidence on Him, or you cannot create that. Because I think on our saintly people, and they didn't care that what will happen tomorrow. And I quote you one anecdote that I think is very important for all of us. Once, the man that he used to buy the bottles, empty bottles in another factory. So the man came that please, I want to have this bill paid by today. My father said to him, come after 3 o'clock. He said, okay, I will go for selling. Allah Ta'ala will give me the money. So my father used to tell that this day I didn't sell a single bottle, 0. And he was praying that Allah, what I have promised him that I have to pay him the bill. So he said, well, it's your will, so I accept it. But strange thing, no single bottle. Can you imagine? He used to sell 1 bottle, 2 bottles. So he was coming back. He was just entering on there are flats in Spain, no, on the gate. Suddenly someone called from his back. He was a wholesaler. He said, oh, man of the perfumes, I want to buy this and that and that and that. Just that he opened that in the main entrance, and he bought the same amount of money that the other person that was waiting there for collecting, what my father said.
इस वक्त एक वाक़या बयान करती हूँ। पुर्तगाल का वाक़या है कि सन 95 की बात है कि उस वक्त जलसा सालाना लंदन यूके का जलसा करीब था। तो ये कहने लगे वो हमारा जाने का प्रोग्राम नहीं था, क्योंकि एक तो इनकी सेहत इजाज़त नहीं देती थी, कमज़ोर थे। और मगर ये कहने लगे, एक दिन ऐसे ही बैठे बैठे कहने लगे कि मैं लंदन जाना चाहता हूँ जलसे पर, तो मेरा टैची केस लाओ, उसमें ज़रूरी चीज़ें वगैरह रख दो। तो मैं खामोशी से मैं करती गई, वैसे ही जिस तरह कहते थे करते गए हम लोग। और फिर बच्चे को किसी को कहा कि ये पैसे लो, मेरे लिए टिकट का इंतज़ाम करो कि मैंने जाना है लंदन। खैर हम क्या कहते, हम खामोश थे। वो चुप करके उन्होंने अपना टिकट ख़रीदा और वो एहतियात से जेब में रखा, पासपोर्ट चेक किया और रचकन वगैरह की जेब में, रचकन की जेब में रख के ना, तो इत्मीनान से बैठ के 1 हफ़्ता 10 दिन बाकी था अभी जलसा शुरू होने में। तो मुझे तो बज़ाहिर बड़ा मुश्किल लग रहा था, कैसे ये अकेले तो नहीं जा सकते। और भी किसी को नहीं कहा कि चलो, या बच्चे भी मतलब बच्चे मैडर से या मंसूर इधर सब जाते थे, किसी के साथ प्रोग्राम बन सकता था, मगर अचानक उनको ख्याल आया, इस तरह उन्होंने कर लिया। तो मैं भी खामोश रही। मैंने कहा देखें जो अल्लाह ताला को क्या मंजूर है। तो इस तरह दिन गुज़रते गए। तो सुबह के वक़्त अगले दिन यानी सुबह के वक्त फ़्लाइट थी उनकी अलग सुबह। तो रात को 10:30 बजे तक वो ऐसे सोफ़े पर बैठे, वैसे ही सारे नीचे करके बैठे हुए थे। तो मुझे लग रहा था, मैंने कहा पता नहीं किस तरह जाएंगे, मुझे तो नामुमकिन ही लग रहा था। तो क्या हुआ कि 10:30 बजे का वक़्त होगा कि बाहर दरवाज़े से बाहर ऐसे लगा जैसे चंद आदमियों के ऐसा ऐसा बोलने की आवाज़ें आ रही हैं और थोड़ी देर बाद हमारे दरवाज़े की घंटी बजी तो उठकर खोला तो एक साहिब अंदर आए, अस्सलाम वालेकुम कह कर कहने लगे मैं अफ्रीका से आया हूँ और मैंने सोचा कि चलो मौलवी साहब के साथ लंदन जलसे पर चलता हूँ। तो खैर वो साहिब आए, अब आए रात उन्होंने मिशन हाउस में गुजारी। मैंने खाने वगैरह का पूछा तो कह दिया मैं खा के आया हूँ या पता नहीं क्या जवाब दिया उन्होंने। तो रात वहाँ गुजारी और सुबह दोनों वो चले गए, लंदन चले गए। फिर सफ़र वो सब साथ रहे, वापसी पर वो फिर साथ थे और फिर वापसी पर घर तक दरवाजे तक छोड़ के उनको सोफे पर बिठा के कहने लगे अब मैं चलता हूँ और ये मैं चलता हूँ क्योंकि मेरी फ़्लाइट का वक़्त है अब। तो इस तरह ये हमें नहीं पता वो कौन थे और यानी किसी ने हमसे रब्ता नहीं किया था, किसी का फ़ोन नहीं था, किसी ने कुछ ये भी नहीं पूछा था कि कोई प्रोग्राम है भी किसी का जाने का या नहीं। ये बस अल्लाह ताला की मदद ख़ास फजल थी जो पता नहीं।
In London, I remember once when I went, when Hazrat Khalifatul Masih Salis went there and I was with him. One day I asked my father if I could go and visit the family and visit a bit of London. And I remember that my father's expression saw his, that he was a bit upset of hearing me saying that. No? He said that I would have many chances in my life to see London and I would have many chances to see the rest of the family. But while Hazur was there, I should get all the blessings and all the privileges and all the good things that comes to be in the nearness of Khalifatul Masih.
My father had an extreme loyalty and attachment with the Khilafat. I will just mention one event that reflects his love for the Khilafat. On one occasion, Hazrat Muslim Maud Raziyallahu Anhu, in one khutbah, said that Allah has given me such devotees ready to sacrifice their life at my indication that if the suicide was not forbidden in Islam and I were to dig a spear on the ground and I command 100 of them to jump onto that spear, the world would contemplate this Nazara. At that time, my father, Abbajan, told to my mother that when I was listening to the khutbah, जब मैं khutbah सुन रहा था, मेरे दिल में ये हाल था कि मैं सोच रहा था कि अगर इशारा करे, हज़रत हजूर इशारा करे, तो सबसे पहले मैं होता है जो छलांग मारता है. It means that if when I was listening to the khutbah, the condition of my heart was such that I was thinking if Hazur indicate that, I would be the first one of jumping into the spear.
He was a man that couldn't have this, he couldn't see people wasting time. It means you need a racket, buy it. You need a football, you know, for playing football, do sports, whatever you need. You want to learn languages, he will do some sacrifice to pay, because our life was humble, although with the grace of Allah we never have any need. But learning languages, doing sport, learn typing, you know, whatever was useful, there was full authorization. But it was forbidden at home, seeing TV. No TV was bought at you know, in early ages. Neither when we were became teenagers. And I thank him a lot for this. No comics were allowed because my father said this is wasting time. Don't waste time. Time is sona, you know, is gold. Chess were not allowed. So he wanted us to be profitable man, you know.
I remember that he always used to say that we the objective why we were in Spain. He said that we were sent by Hazrat Khalifatul Masih Sani, just to preach Islam here. And we were the only family who live here, so we need to be an example of high morals for everyone. He also recommended us to do a lot of Zikr Ilahi and to recite the kalima many times, because as Spain was a Catholic country, he always told us that we were the only family here who could this zikr on the streets or wherever we went.
You know, once he met the prince, this is another interesting anecdote. And I remember the Spanish ambassador said that you are hitting me, you know, because my first strong personality, the Prince of Spain, came in Portugal. This is something related with Portugal, you know. And I remember him, you know, he was a man. So, I mean, dear, so the prince stayed with him and, you know, to start preaching him. So the ambassador was just looking at him that I was the person that he should meet first and this and that, you know. I remember once on the book fair we had in Madrid, this prince is the son, the son of the king. He came to our stall, and when I offer a book of the Holy Quran, he said, no, I have got a copy that I've got in Portugal with the man with the turban. So he still remembered this anecdote that was maybe some years ago, and I remember he is still in the Sunday market. I see generation remember him, because there were small kids at that time that came with their parents. So my father was with the turban. Now they have grown up. You know, more than 50 years have passed, 60. So they have told their children now that there was a man of the turban. I mean, still the environment is the man of the turban that used to sell perfumes here with the spray, and he used to speak about spiritual words and this and that. You know? So those are nice memories that are still in the heart. You know?
Thank you very much.
Before dying, the night before, when we had to call the doctor because his health was deteriorating so much, I think it was 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and we called the doctor, the emergency doctor of that time, and my father told him that I just woke you up to give you a book, and you have to read the book, Jesus in India. And the doctor said that, of course I would read it, because if you woke me up, I have to do it. So he was, I think, his latest words before passing away.
Karam Ilahi Zafar, that was missionary there, Mirza Nasran Sahib, came to Granada. He actually died in Granada, and they did the ghusl. So there was after that the funeral procession that went to Pedro Abad. All the Jamaat went there, and I mean it was very, let's say, you know, the missing of someone that I remember that the members of the Jamaat said that don't think you are the only son, or you are the son of Maulana Sahib, because we were also their children. So consider that Maulvi Sahib was our father also. Somehow his desire was to be buried in Spain, because he loved Spain, and I think someone proposed that why we don't bring the Bahishti Maqbara Rabwa. But I think he always said, no, that I want to be buried here. It's a very simple tomb. It's very near the Basharat Mosque. And well, this is how things happen. The night before, he was much worried. Who will take care about the Spanish Ahmadis? And he said to me, please do the promise that you will translate the khutbahs. And I said, yes. And you know, with the grace of Allah, I'm doing that. from the last, it is now 15 years. And he also gave, you know, different advices to all the kids. But basically, his main thing was that please continue going to villages, preaching. I remember when he was an old man, he used to have a chair with a loudspeaker and put, you know, people used to come, and there was some translation of Hazrat Masih's Malfuzat. He was distributing everywhere.
And we can play a clip for you now in which Khalifatul Masih Ar-Rabi speaks about your father and his efforts in regard to spreading the message of Islam.
तबलीग आखिरी दमों तक करने का ऐसा जुनून था कि वफ़ात से चंद मिनट पहले चोटी का डॉक्टर उनको देखने आया है कि क्या हालत है, और उसी हालत में मुंह में ऑक्सीजन लगी हुई है, या हटाकर या कुछ ज़ोर लगाकर अपनी बीवी को कहा फ़ौरन जो है इस्लामी उसूल की फ़िलासफ़ी वो इस सर्जन को दे दो। उनकी बेगम से जब मैंने ताजियत के फ़ोन किया, उन्होंने कहा कि वो सर्जन मुझे कहते हैं क्या शख्स है, ज़िंदगी आखिरी दमों तक जा पहुंची है, जान लबों पर आ गई है, और मैं इसकी तबीयत पूछने आ रहा हूँ, ये मुझे कहता है फलां किताब पढ़ो। और हर एक से यही हाल था, सारे इर्द गिर्द के मरीज़ उस वक्त उनकी तबलीग का निशाना बने हुए थे।